All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at a huge story for nearly 70 million Americans. You might have heard that a potentially historic Social Security raise is coming in 2026. But as we're about to see, when it comes to your wallet, what you see isn't always what you get.
So, is this raise actually going to make a difference in your life? Well, the answer is complicated. We're going to break down the good news, the bad news, and what it really means for your bottom line.
So first things first, let's talk about the news that's got everyone buzzing. Because, on the surface, it looks like a really unusual and really positive trend is happening.
Yep, you heard that right. 5 years in a row of pretty solid raises. I mean, that's a huge deal. We haven't seen a streak like that in Social Security for almost 30 years, and it's all a direct result of the inflation we've all been feeling. Okay, but before we get into the nitty-gritty numbers, let's do a quick refresher. What exactly is this raise? Because it's not just a bonus, it's a very specific mechanism with a very clear purpose. So, the whole point of the COLA is to make sure your monthly check can actually keep up with the rising cost of, well, everything. Think about it. If the price of gas and groceries goes up, your benefit is supposed to get a little bump too, so you don't lose your buying power. It's basically a financial shield against inflation.
And this automatic system we have now, it was a total game changer. Before 1975, getting a raise was, well, it was a mess. Congress could give you a huge one, or they could go a whole decade and give you nothing. It was all political. But ever since 75, it's just a simple automatic calculation. No more politics involved, just pure math.
All right, so we're all on the same page about what the COLA is. Now let's look at the part that sounds like really good news, at least on paper.
Okay, so based on what the experts, like the folks at the Senior Citizens League, are forecasting right now, the 2026 COLA is looking to be right around 2.7%. Some people are even predicting it might be a tad higher, maybe 2.8%.
Now, 2.7% might not sound like a huge number, but you've got to put it in perspective. Just look at the last 16 years. The average COLA during that time was only 2.3%. And remember, that includes 3 different years where beneficiaries got 0 increase. So yeah, 2.7% is actually a pretty big step up from what people are used to seeing.
So what does that actually mean for your wallet? Well, for the average retired worker, a 2.7% COLA means about an extra $54 a month. An extra $54, not bad, right? And here's where the plot thickens. That extra money sounds fantastic, but there are some pretty big forces working behind the scenes. They're about to gobble up that raise before it even has a chance to hit your bank account.
So there are really 2 big problems we need to talk about. The first one is kind of hidden. It's about how we even measure inflation. And the second one, it's a very direct and very big chunk of money coming right out of your check. Put them together and you get what some people are calling the double whammy.
All right, let's tackle that first problem. The way the government officially measures inflation, the number that decides your COLA, it just doesn't line up with how most seniors are actually spending their money.
And here's the absolute heart of the issue. See, the COLA is based on something called the CPI-W. And that index tracks the spending of, well, younger working people. But seniors, who are the ones actually getting most of the Social Security checks, have totally different budgets. They spend a much, much bigger piece of their pie on things like housing and healthcare. And guess which costs have been skyrocketing lately?
And because of that mismatch, the real-world value of a Social Security check has just been falling and falling. Get this. One analysis found that the buying power of Social Security has already plummeted by a mind-boggling 20% since just 2010. Your COLA just isn't keeping up.
Okay, now for the second whammy. This one's way more straightforward, and you'll see it right on your statement. For most people, the Medicare Part B premium gets taken out of their Social Security check automatically. And that premium, it's about to get a lot more expensive. And no, that's not a typo. The official Medicare Trustees Report is projecting that the Part B premium, that's what covers your doctor visits and things like that, is set to jump by a massive 11.5% in 2026. This is coming after a couple of years where the increases were, a bit more manageable.
So, this is where the rubber meets the road. Let's put it all together. Remember that estimated $54 raise we were excited about? Well, this Medicare hike is expected to snatch about $21 of that right off the top. So your actual net increase, the money you really get to spend, shrinks all the way down to around $33 a month. Suddenly, that historic raise feels, well, a lot less historic.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that even though the headline number looks fantastic, the reality is
a lot less exciting. Once you factor in your actual costs, and especially that big Medicare deduction, this history-making moment might not feel like it's making much history in your bank account.
And all of this leaves us with a really important question to think about. I mean, the whole point of the COLA was to protect the buying power of seniors, right? But the numbers seem to be telling us it's just not keeping up. As that gap grows between the official inflation number and the real-world costs for retirees, you have to start wondering, is the system itself still working the way it's supposed to?